guys ready? All right. Good morning. I'm Sheriff Kevin McMahill with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. With me today is Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Spencer Evans, and Assistant Sheriff Dory Korn with the LVMPD Homeland Security and Investigative Services. They'll be two of the individuals speaking. The rest of the individuals up here are also the command team that helped lead through this investigation over the course of the last week. And I'm here to provide you a significant update on the Tesla attack that took place early last week. This event involved an attack on the Tesla Collision and Sales Center on Tuesday, March 18th at approximately 02:45. The suspect used a firearm and Molotov cocktails to damage the center and destroy multiple vehicles that were parked on site. You'll see to my left some of that video that was taken from that night. On the screen next to me is also what I want to highlight to each one of you is the very little information that my investigators and FBI agents had to work with from the initial aspect of this investigation. There's a grainy photograph of the suspect's vehicle, a nearly indescribable photo of the suspect himself, and a couple of photographs of headlights and taillights of the vehicle. That's what my investigators had to go on a week ago. Part of this story that you're going to hear is how we arrived at our suspect being taken into custody with such little information. It's incredible work by everybody involved. And despite that minimal information at the onset, and thanks to the hard work and collaborative effort by the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, the LVMPD Counterterrorism Section, and all of our Fusion Center partners, we were able to identify and arrest the suspect involved in this attack. There's a couple social media photos that that have been circulated out there already. The suspect's name is Paul Kim, K-I-M. He's an Asian male adult, and he is 36 years of age. I'm going to transition now to Assistant Sheriff Dory Korn to explain to you exactly what happened over the course of this last week. Sheriff Korn.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. I'm Assistant Sheriff Dory Korn at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I oversee our Homeland Security and Investigative Services Group, which includes our counterterrorism section. I have the opportunity here to provide the details of the investigation, but there's no doubt this was a collaborative effort involving multiple agencies, numerous, actually hundreds of personnel that have been involved. Some of the key people, to include folks that are standing back here, like Lieutenant Rick Myers, who oversees our counterterrorism section, were instrumental. And because of all of their hard work, we were able to quickly identify and apprehend the Tesla firebombing suspect in record-breaking time. Based on the updated evidence that we now have a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of what actually happened. And I'm going to provide some details as we walk through a little bit of a timeline on what occurred and then what we know about the suspect now. So we'll begin with just talking about how the suspect arrived. He arrived east of the location in a vehicle, showed up in a black sedan just parked east of the Tesla Collision Center. You can see on this video clip here, we highlighted the area because it's at the top of your screen, and you'll be able to see the arrival of the vehicle. You'll be able to see that the vehicle comes in, originally driving westbound where you can see the headlights, and then turns around where you can see the taillights, and he reverses back into where he parks. The suspect then proceeds on foot and approaches the corner of the building. As you've seen before, and as you've probably heard, and certainly as we're showing today, he attempted to mask his identity by wearing black attire, concealing his face, and wearing gloves. The suspect then began shooting the surveillance cameras with what appeared to be a rifle. You can see an image here of the suspect pointing the rifle towards the camera. At least 2 surveillance cameras were damaged by gunfire. And then upon shooting the cameras, the suspect proceeded to the front doors of the Tesla, and he began spray painting the words "resist" across the doors. I'll let this video play because you'll get a better shot of the suspect. You can see his description as he goes across the clear doors there, committing his act of crime. Once he finishes spray painting the words "resist" on the doors, he then approaches multiple Tesla vehicles that were parked in the front of the center. He proceeded to shoot into each vehicle and used a Molotov cocktail to set the vehicles on fire. We'll play a few video clips here to kind of show you his behavior. You can see him right there in the dark clothing. He casually walks over to his first vehicle that's targeted. He will soon put down his backpack onto the ground. And then he transitions to the firearm. And you'll see him shoot into the vehicle. Once he shoots into the vehicle, he ends up going back from the vehicle to the bag and then back to the car, presumably picking up his item that he used to be able to firebomb the vehicle. We believe that was a Molotov cocktail. And you'll see in a moment here, the vehicle will ignite and ultimately fully engulf, causing severe damage. The suspect then continues on to a second vehicle, and you can see here he's on to the second target. He'll do very similar behavior where he shoots into the vehicle, he goes into the backpack, retrieves an item, and ultimately you'll notice here that he ends up getting the second vehicle on fire as well. From there, he then proceeds to his third vehicle, repeats the same type of activity. One of the incendiary devices he was not able to ignite, which is one of the devices that we were able to recover. But ultimately, 5 vehicles were damaged, to include 3 of which were fully destroyed. You can see images of the vehicles here. And then you'll see here a drone video. This is from our Skydio drone, being able to provide an overview of the damage as well. After this, the suspect then proceeds and flees east, gets in his vehicle, and leaves the area. As I mentioned earlier, this case has been worked around the clock, and Sheriff McMahill and Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans have made it a top priority for our organization and put a tremendous amount of workforce behind it to make sure that this was dealt with in a quick manner. Because of that, in 8 days around the clock with our teams, we were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as a black Hyundai Elantra. You'll see a photo here. But what's important to point out here is that this was achieved through an exhaustive review of surveillance material, analytical data, and a canvas of over 700 locations across the valley, ultimately allowing us to piece together critical evidence with speed and precision. You can see on this image here, this is just one example of many where we're using the flock technologies to be able to identify the type of vehicle, including very specific features of the vehicle that build up into additional leads and ultimately get us to the point of identifying the suspect and his vehicle. As of now, a preliminary assessment, and we have a lot of data to go through and a lot of investigative work that needs to be followed up on, but a preliminary assessment of the suspect's social media activity indicates some very loose but self-proclaimed ties to the Communist Party USA social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communist International, Hidden Palestine, Palestine Action, and a variety of other social media groups. That is part of our investigation, is to dig further into it and to be able to determine additional motive and other potential concerns. At this point in time, the suspect was placed immediately on 24/7 surveillance by our specialized units to ensure public safety and preserve evidence. Additional evidence was collected as we continued our investigation, and the suspect was ultimately arrested yesterday evening. A search warrant was then obtained and served by the LVMPD SWAT team, which is by far one of the best, if not the best, SWAT teams in the country. They were able to do that safely and quickly. And as a part of their operation, we were able to conduct searches of 2 vehicles linked to the suspect's apartment, and we were also able to collect a buccal swab for DNA to be able to compare that to the DNA that we recovered from the scene. Our searches revealed numerous items of interest to include multiple rifles, a shotgun, a handgun, and miscellaneous gun parts. You can see a photo to my left of some of the items that were recovered. We also were able to recover ammunition in multiple calibers to include the caliber that was used in the crime. We also recovered numerous electronic devices, which our partners at the FBI are quickly analyzing. We also recovered a black gun belt with a pouch that had pink paint residue on it. You can see a photo of that to my left, as well as a black backpack with pink paint, face masks, and other articles of clothing that are consistent with the suspect's description. We also recovered other key pieces of evidence that we're still evaluating at this time that do connect the suspect to this attack. Finally, I will also say about the search warrants, we were able to do a buccal swab. We were able to, our lab did an amazing job quickly collecting that evidence and analyzing it. They worked through the night, nonstop, late hours, because they know how important this case is to our community. And ultimately, that DNA that was collected from our subject does match. It was a positive identification to the DNA that we collected on scene. It's also worth noting, I'll just kind of conclude here by talking about the charges. So for now, at this point in time, he was charged with numerous felonies to include 3 counts of arson, 3rd degree, 3 counts of unlawful possession of explosive or incendiary device, 4 counts of destroying property, and 5 counts of discharging a firearm into a vehicle or structure. The suspect remains in custody, and we're working closely with the Clark County District Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office on the prosecution. And with that, I do want to transition to our federal partners, and I'll just emphasize this. I said this last time, which is our partnership is second to none. And it goes with all of our partners that we have, the Fusion Center, but particularly with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the special agent in charge that's here. We've had a remarkable relationship, and this has proven true in this case as well. We've worked hand in hand on all of these cases and on this case as well, and we have a tremendous amount of resources behind it because of the sheriff and the SAC being so committed on this case. So with that, I'll transition to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Spencer Evans.